Hey, visibility hackers, welcome to today's episode. Today, we are talking about the very simple 5-step content planning system. And I want to share it with you guys, so stay tuned. Hey, I'm Coach Molle from Visibility Hacking Studios, and we help small businesses, coaches, solopreneurs, digital entrepreneurs, and visionary leaders take their brand and their message to the next level. Really start connecting with their ideal customers, bringing them into their world, nurturing them, and ultimately making more money online. So if that sounds like you and you want a simple content planning system, then this is definitely the video for you. The reality is content planning is a very overwhelming process because not only are you planning it, but you're publishing it, you're creating it, you're doing everything in between. And if you're listening, you should also be doing a brief and a debrief at the end of it so that your next round of content is even better. But yeah, that feels like a little bit overwhelming, right? And I know that firsthand, especially when you're in that stage of your business where you've been creating all the content yourself and you're looking to hand it off. You're looking to automate that process so that you can focus your energies on growing a different area of your business. Because honestly, if you're spending all of your time creating content, that's not spending enough time creating the solutions for your customers, right? You're just a marketer at that point. You're not actually running any type of business. So we're going to switch things up for you, and I'm going to share with you a very simple 5-step system that'll change the game for you. First, we're going to talk about the foundational guiding principles that lead to success. Then we're going to talk about how to create engaging content that attracts your ideal customers, your dream customers into your world. And this is what we call content for connection. And finally, we'll talk about how to rise above all the noise on social media, because we see that everyone's creating content. So how do we separate ourselves? How do we rise above that so that our customers, we catch their attention with our content? So if this interests you, definitely stay tuned. See you after the intro. Step 1 to this process is to come up with your content strategy. So a strategy is like a bird's eye view of what's happening. Think of it in terms of like war planning and military stuff. I know we're not actually planning any wars here. We're creating content for the sake of connection, peace, love, and groovy. But if you guys have ever played the game of Risk before, it's like a wartime type game where you're trying to get your army to take over the world and beat the other armies before they can take over the world. Similar to like Settlers of Catan. If you have that bird's eye view, you can see where everyone is on the board. When you're in the thick of things, you don't actually get that perspective, right? It's kind of like if you're flying over a forest, you can actually see the forest in and of itself. You can see the boundaries. You can see the elevation changes. You can see different pockets of different species of trees, for example. But when you're hiking in the middle of that forest, all you see is the individual trees. You see them from a completely different perspective. So strategy is a much higher level view. What does strategy mean when we're looking at our content? Well, ultimately, looking at what is our ultimate goal. Our ultimate goal is to get people to buy money. But right now, in this quarter of the year, what is our goal? Are we looking at a specific product? Are we pushing people to a specific offer? Look a little bit more granular, and that's going to help you understand your strategy. Look at what platforms you're on. That's part of your overall strategy. What assets do you have available to provide to people? That's part of your strategy. Understanding all of these things. You don't need a plan just yet. Strategy is where we look to gather our resources, where we look and pick the ultimate goal. We know ultimately we need to get from point A to point B, and these are the resources we have with us. That then introduces us to step number 2, which is to create a content plan. So now we know what our resources are. Now we know where we want our people to go. We have an approximate idea of the path they're going to take. So now let's plan out the content. So that's like planning out each of the bricks in your yellow brick road. We know that we want our customers to get all the way to Oz, but they need to start one step at a time. So planning out your content is planning out each of those individual messages. What messages do you need to put out there in order to change the minds of your customers, to get them from a place of indecision to a place of having made that decision? And hopefully that decision is to follow you along that path to Oz and ultimately to purchase your product at the end. So some of these in your content plan, you might have testimonials from previous students. You might talk about obstacles and how you overcome them. You might highlight certain features or benefits in your offer. You might highlight certain bonuses in your offer. Whatever it is, in this stage, in phase number 2, in the content planning phase, is where you're going to be putting all of that information together. Before we go any further, though, it's time for our question of the day. Do you already plan out your content like this? Do you wing it? Maybe you are on the opposite side of the spectrum from the content planners. Let me know what your process is like down in the comments, and bonus points if you're struggling with part of the process. If you find that you really want to plan your content and you reach an obstacle at some point that just stops you dead in your tracks, week after week, month after month, quarter after quarter, year after year, let me know down in the comments, and I would love to help you overcome those obstacles, because when you plan out your content, oh my goodness, everything changes in your business. So let me know down in the comments. The second part, or I should say the third part of this process, is making sure that we're actually producing the content. So we know where we want our people to go. We know what each of the bricks is going to be. So now let's actually start creating the content. So content production can be a big deal. It could be as simple as just jumping on live directly from your phone, directly into your Facebook group, connecting with your customers that way. Fabulous. But don't just rely on one type of content, especially if it's a type of content that's just easy to produce. It gets lazy. Your messaging gets lazy. What we want to do is create a plethora, a variety of different types of contents, a smorgasbord, if you will. And what I want you to think about is how you can create all of this content in an efficient way. So what I do for our videos, I will batch record a bunch of them at the same time in the same day. And that way I don't have to constantly be in front of the camera every single day. Although I am for other reasons. But for specific types of content, I love to batch record them. This is also beneficial because it helps keep your message in alignment. So my content team, for example, we sit down once a month, we plan out the entire month, and then we go create that content. Whether it's putting together a whole slew of Instagram messages, whether it's creating a whole bunch of live episodes, whether it's setting up a bunch of interviews, because maybe those interviews will help us overcome some obstacles for our customers. Whatever it is, think about creating a system when it comes to publishing your content. We started with strategy, we created the roadmap, and now we're actually creating that content. Which brings us to the fourth step in the process, which is to publish your content. So again, you can sit there and publish every day right as you want your post to be published, or you can systematize this, take some stress off your back, and you can publish these ahead of time. You can schedule them. So on YouTube, for example, you can post your videos and you can schedule them. On Facebook, in any groups, you can also schedule your posts to go live. On your Facebook profile, that you can't. That you actually have to show up for live. But there's a variety of different ways that you can schedule your content to be published later on. You can hire virtual assistants to help with this. But first, always start going back to your content plan and actually putting in the times and dates that each of these pieces of content is going to be published. There's a variety of different ways you can create visual schedules. You can write it all down with just text if that's what you're into. But knowing when you're going to publish things is really, really important. Another thing that's super important is hitting the like button and hitting the subscribe button, becoming a visibility hacker here on the channel so that you can get access to all of the great tips, tricks, and strategies that we send out to you guys Monday to Friday. Plus, you also get access to all of our live shows. I'd love to see you guys along for the ride. Now let's talk about the final step in the process, and that's content distribution. So content distribution ties very nicely to the publishing piece. Publishing is a lot more about editing things and getting things organized, and content distribution is how do we actually get it out there into the world. So you can use scheduling apps like Later. You can schedule content directly from the Canva platform if you have a pro account. You can also hire virtual assistants to do the publishing for you, or you can be super old school about it and you be the one that publishes on a regular basis. And I'm not knocking that as a way of running your content because for many people, creating a schedule for your content is a way to create a schedule for your day to day, especially if you're in your business full time. I hear you, I hear you, I hear you. Yes, creating content on a regular basis, showing up on multiple platforms with all messages that align with your ideal customer and constantly churning this system over and over again sounds really easy, but in practice, I recognize it can be a little bit daunting if you don't know what you're publishing for each of your pieces of content. Yeah, we talked about strategy earlier in this video, but I want to give you the secret key. All of this works. All of this is great, but if you want it to be easier, if you want to know ahead of time exactly what messages you should be putting out there, exactly what kinds of messages should you be creating, what kinds of resources, what kinds of content should you be creating, well, then you definitely want to join us for a year of content training. Yeah, it's part of the Live Academy program, but we're also offering it to you because you're an awesome visibility hacker. The links are down below, and I want you to join us for this awesome training because what we do is we give you this beautiful framework, and when you fill it all in, you end up with more than a year's worth of awesome content for your social platforms, and you have a roadmap to create a kick-ass course that also you can sell, you can give away for free, whatever you want, you got options. So check that out down below. Definitely make sure you join us in the Visibility Hackers group. Head over to visibilityhacking.com. Click the link at the top that says Become a Visibility Hacker, and we will see you over there. Until then, my friends, as per usual, remember I love you, be excellent to each other, and just go live because your people are out there waiting for you.